Dale Crider, who lives at Antigua Roost near Noonan's Lake around the Gainesville area. And the main thing I can say about Dale is that, in a sense, folk and bluegrass festivals around Florida are synonymous with Dale. He goes back many, many, many years. He gave me an album once from the 70s from a bluegrass festival over in White Springs. And so you might hear a lot of environmental songs today, but believe me, he can do some bluegrass, and maybe you'll hear some around the campfire over the weekend. A personal request to hear some of that kind of stuff as well. Dale has been a long-term employee, now retired, he says probably thankfully, from what used to be the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission. They had to go and change their name and make it hard for everybody. Now it's the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Is that right, Dale? 30 years, and he's one of those unique individuals who had a chance to sing songs while he worked. Not very many of us get to do that. And he's written songs about every river in Florida. I think he's got one in Alachua and the Kissimmee and Loxahatchee, and let's see, am I leaving any out? Let's see, Apalachicola, how could I leave that one out? So there's a river, he's probably sung about it. So you're in for a real treat. And I think he's got a new CD out, and maybe he'll tell you a little bit about that. But the main thing I wanted to tell you about Dale is that what you may not know is that 30 years ago or so, Dale was sitting in the crowd like many of you, listening to Will McLean at the Florida Folk Festival in White Springs, and he heard Will sing "Hold Back the Waters," and he said he was so inspired by that song about Florida that he dedicated his life to trying to write about Florida just like Will would have wanted, and he wrote his very first Florida song based on that. So put your hands together and make welcome Dale Crider.
Hey, thank you, Donna. Yeah, I'm happy to be back here. This is, I don't know, I guess I've been here to maybe every one of the Will festivals. I'm not sure, I might have missed one. But Will is, as Donna Green Townsend told you, is a dear friend. And the subject of many thoughts that I've had ever since the first day that I met him. I'd like to sing a couple of songs here that I've written about Florida wildlife. It has been my passion, and it's one Will sort of pointed me in that direction by doing certain songs that he wrote about the manatee and so on. But because that was a part of my job as a biologist for the Game and Fish Commission, is to create an awareness for certain species that need attention and protection. I started focusing my songs on that. And this is one I put together called The Last Live Photo. It's a note about an osprey, an eagle and a panther, a note about a wood stork and a manatee, a note about an otter and the old darter, sturgeons in the Swanee and the mammals in the sea, care of the sunny, wasted on the prairie, drainage of the wetland, took the sandhill crane, crocodiles in the mangroves, the Everglades like wolves, click, my camera goes, for the last live photo. It's a photo of an osprey, an eagle and a panther, photo of a wood stork and the manatee, photo of an otter and the Alachua County, sturgeons in the Swanee and the mammals in the sea. For the last live photo. you were going to take that last life. He never took it. The other, you said cheese before for a photograph, like cheese. That sort of leaves your mouth in the right direction or the right smile. Say Will McLean, it even makes a better photograph. I like to move on with a song that I wrote about the Florida panther that we learned all over the state by the name of Big Guy. And it's a long story about why he got that name. It's not particularly important. I wish it had been something besides Big Guy, but it just turned out that way. And I was close to the Florida Panther Project, and most of the Florida Panthers are down in the Big Cypress National Preserve in that general part of the state, the very southwestern part of the state. And there was one got hit one night by a truck, we think maybe a car, on Tamiami Trail, and this truck driver saw the lights, his eyes, the panther's eyes in his truck lights, and he reported it to the highway patrol, who called in our law enforcement people, and then they called in the rescue crew, and we had this I guess you could say rescue of this Florida panther that was going to die of his injuries. And the word got out, and all of the newspapers picked it up, and the governor was just absolutely covered with letters wanting to know about Big Guy, and young people all over the state were taking up donations in classrooms for Big Guy, and it became a big issue, and I got a call from Tallahassee to write a song about this Florida panther that got hit on the road. I said, well, what should it contain? Well, the governor sends word to write a song about it, because anything that would generate that much cards and letters in his office was deserving of a song. So I put this song together in about 3 or 4 hours, and I called it The Survival of Big Guy. Pain ripped his legs and body, but the wild panther was strong, losing his blood on the Tamiami Trail, U.S. Highway 41. A motorist had wheeled over his body, this rarest mammal of all. His eyes reflected from the car headlights, though for hours no help would come. Broken hind legs were bleeding. The weaker the big cat became, there was little hope for the panther when Townsend, the truck driver, came. You know, the rescue and the surgery saved him, and he leaps for veterinary fame, and he's recovered with the health care for wildlife now, and all Florida has heard of his name. But the fast cars on the roads across the Everglades may cause more wildlife to die, but the human concern made the difference in this one big cat we call Big Guy. Yes, the human survival of a big guy. Well, Donna probably told you that I met Will McLean within the first 3 months of living in West Palm Beach. I moved down here from Missouri to be a wildlife biologist in the Everglades, and I'd met a few people around West Palm Beach. And they told me about this place up in North Florida that I must go to if I like this kind of music, called White Springs, and the Florida Folk Festival. So I came that first year. It was about 3 months after I'd arrived in Florida, and I met this guy, Will McLean, the Black Hat Troubadour, and Will was drunk, and made a great impression on me in spite of the fact that he was drunk. And it was like this guy was belting out songs about Florida that I related to very definitely. He was so gentle and so friendly, and I could see that everybody was following him. I knew that he was the guy who had the magic wand. I was thinking at that time, you know, this guy makes a song about a place sound so easy to write because everybody has been to places that they love and feel good, and or that they know something strange happened at and wrote songs about it. So Will sort of gave me that image that you can write a song about this and it will touch people's heart and soul. They relate to it. It doesn't have to be how much you love your sweetie pie. It can be how much you love your lake, how much you love your old oak tree, how much you love that hawk that flies over. So that gave me an idea that I could put some scientific information around what might be artistic images of Florida in song, and through that I would convey a certain information about these animals that people would be better off to know, and that we would also get a little bit of entertainment in it, and that they would come back for more and we would give them more. So over a period of 35 years I did that. And it's true that a lot of state employees says he gets to play for a living and while we have to work. And one time one of my bosses told me, they said, what we tell them is, would you rather give up your job and get up on stage in front of lots of strange people and sing these songs? And so they didn't choose that. But I don't call you strange, I call you brothers and sisters and grandpas and grandmas. And we're down here to celebrate something that I think should be the most touted growth industry in Florida, about writing songs about a place that's so unbelievably beautiful and unique to North America that people all over the world want to come to Florida first and then visit other states. So much so that we have built a growth management plan to accommodate 96 million people in Florida, and then our growth management plan will be filled up. Do you think we're going to turn that 100 million population away? No, we're going to rewrite the growth management plan, and we'll make it so that it can absorb more people, because that's just sort of like the way we grooved Florida to sell it, to make it a home for millions of people. And I came here from another place, so no one has a license to say stay out. And I know that when we prepared our growth management plan that every single county has in effect today, that Tallahassee says is not working. It's not working. It's got to be revised. It's got to be made to work. So be careful with that, because we're going to make, for it to work, we've got to accommodate much more growth, and it's allowing us to grow to right at this point. So we want to up the standard level. I wanted to give you a politician's lecture here, but this is a song I put together about that growth management plan in 1980, and now we're up for a new revision of the growth management plan. So I brought this song out and dusted it off, and it's called "The Cycle is in the Sand." saying, it's a question of man. It's a call for conservation in the Florida land use plan. And it's a sensible delight, right for coming generations. A softer path to travel and a challenge to the nation. I witness Florida's beauty in the whistle of a quail, stump knockers and cabbage palms and Florida cracker tails, spinning on the memories of William Bartram's trails. I'll search for perfect balance on an equal logic scale. What better way to understand the stately Florida pine, or listen to the howls of the hurricane of time, and speak for wildlife reasons in the uses of the land, and write the cycling future in the plan. And it's a cycle in the sand, it's a question of man, it's a call for conservation in the Florida land use plan. And it's a sensible delight, right for coming generations. A softer path to travel and a challenge to the nation. A softer path to travel and a challenge to the nation. The first year I met Will McLean and Gamble Rogers, and these are two very important figures on the Florida folk scene. And after both of them died, I was aware that everyone was trying to immortalize these people in songs. And I thought, do I join that group of people who are trying to write all these characteristics about these wonderful people and their influence in Florida? Do I want to join that competition? And I was shy on doing that. And I'd listened to, I don't know how many songs I'd heard about Will and how many songs people had put together starting to write about Gamble. And so I didn't jump in there, because I did play around with the Gamble of life. But it was too close to his death for me to feel good about singing it. Well, then one day I heard on the radio in Stark, Florida, a little AM station that I wouldn't normally listen to. This couple was coming through, and this DJ says, "We got these songs, and there's about a guy that's from Florida. Y'all stick around, stay tuned in. We're going to interview these people. They got songs about Rog Gamble." And I thought to myself, well, this guy obviously doesn't know Gamble Rogers, but immediately I knew that it had to have been Gamble Rogers. That sort of turned me off a little bit, but I listened, and it was Cindy Magnuson and Steve Gillette, and they had a new CD, and they had this song, A Song for Gamble, and they were going to talk about it a little bit and play it on the radio station, and they did. The minute I heard the first note of that song, I started welling up with tears. I had to pull my pickup truck off and just totally absorb this song, which to me cut through to my heart, because I was not only on the road that Gamble often walked from my house up the canal bank to get his morning exercise when he would stay there, but this song was cutting at me in a way that I'd never had one, and I wept right there in my game commission pickup truck. And so it was like, I said I had to learn that. I got to learn that song. So I went down and I checked out Steve Gillette on the internet. And wouldn't you know, it took me right to his website, and it took me right to the CD. And so I bought it, and I've since gotten to know him. In fact, he's going to be he and Cindy are going to be at the Gamble Rogers Festival this May, first weekend in May. They're wonderful songwriters. He also wrote Darcy Farrell, a lot of wonderful folk songs. You may know him a lot better than I. I'm just now getting to know Steve Gillette. But this is a song that I'd like to sing for you, a song for Gamble. He was a gentleman with a guitar. He's gone on a little further now, a little deeper in the stars. He went down into the water, helped to save a drowning man, and he left this world holding out his hand. He was a master at the microphone, had a subtle wisdom and a southern tone. Mississippi John and Agamemnon Jones, he had that magic in his hand. He played the old songs and they still ring true. He was a poet and philosopher too. And he said life is just what happens to you when you're making other plans. I remember Gamble Rogers. He was a gentleman with a guitar. He's gone on a little further now, a little deeper in the stars. He went down into the water, helped to save a drowning man, and he left this world holding out his hand. He had this gift of innocence and a fondness for the key of E, and he always had that air of special dignity. And from the trade winds to the troubadour, he was a celebrated raconteur. He left them laughing at the backstage door. He left them crying out for more, more, more. I remember Gamble Rogers. He was a gentleman with a guitar. He's gone on a little further now, a little deeper in the stars. He went down into the water to help to save a drowning man, and he left this world holding out his hand. Many of you are aware that we cannot do enough environmental education to save the state of Florida. It's going to take just a tremendous, what do they call that, millennium shift for us to save what Will McLean and this whole Will McLean Foundation thinks we can do with a song. But singing about a problem is as good a way to celebrate and get people active and involved with it as anything else. So singing as a growth industry for Florida will not pollute anything. And you will always, if you're singing about something you believe should be protected and believe should be passed on to future generations, That's a heart issue. That's a value that you cannot go wrong by tuning in your vibrations and letting your voice work. And I think as good a slogan as we could possibly have for saving Florida is to write enough songs about it to save it, and that would do it. And think of it. Dwell on this as you drive home. There's nothing better than this festival to celebrate what we all know is beautiful about Florida, and Will was so able to bring that out. When I think about it, that's a tremendous thing. And he wrote this song about this panther. And while I don't, I know that we can't hunt panthers, and we shouldn't ever kill a panther because we've got so few of them, and who would ever want to kill one? Yet, there was a time when hunting panthers was a really important thing in the minds of some of the early settlers. Not that panthers were ever killing people. They never have killed people in Florida or the Southeast. But they were taking some livestock, and the people were afraid of panthers. Anyway, it was a subject that if you told stories about a panther hunt, you got everybody's attention. Just like when you sing a song about a snake. No matter how bad it is, people are going to listen to you. So this panther song was one I heard real early on, and it tells a story about this old man that gave his name to a big swamp up south of Tallahassee, southwest of Tallahassee, called Tate's Hell. You know Tate's Hell? Any of you ever heard of that place? Yeah, it's in the Alachua County National Forest. It was acquired just less than 20 years ago, but it is under public ownership now. So I'm tying up a bunch of time here. I better go on to this song, but I'd like to sing it for you. It's one of the songs I've recorded recently. At Thanksgiving, I recorded 15 songs, and I have some of them available on a few CDs that I brought with me today. And so I'll sing this song. It'll be my closing song. And I'll be around here. I'm singing again tomorrow at the Magnolia stage at noon, but I'll be around here swapping lies and telling stories for the rest of the weekend. And so thanks for coming, and you're a wonderful audience, and I hope you're enjoying this festival. Along about dark, he had his two big dogs, the puppy named Spark, an old long Tom shotgun, a sharp Barlow knife, that panther would sure have a chase of his life. Well, a little past the moon down, the dogs struck the scent. Through bramble and tie-tie, a running Tate went for hours and hours until it was dawn, and Tate knew that he was a long way from home. Then he blowed on his gun barrel, but the dogs didn't hear. The panther had killed them. Old Tate felt fear. The sun was not shining, the moon it was thick. Oh Lordy, Tate hollered, I'm lost up the creek. Well, he leaned back to rest, and his eyes didn't see. The big rattler struck him a bent knee. The lick was so hard that a sprawling he fell, and that was the beginning of poor old Tate's hell. He went for his Barlow, and he grabbed him some moss. A cut he made one way, another across. He wrapped his leg tightly and tied it with string. Then his sickness came on him. His body turned green. When Tate was discovered, These words he did tell, my name is old Tate boy, and I've just been in hell. These few spoken words were the last that he said. His spirit had left him. Old Tate, he was dead. Now no man can dispute this legend of yore, how Tate lived 5 days and then 3 days more, and finally crawled out near the town of Carabel from that deep ghostly swamp that we know as Tate's Hell.